Hello and welcome back again. In the last episode we made a few teeny tiny houses for the new Hex village system that I'm currently working on, so this kind of thing. And in this video I'll be continuing with that project and we'll be having a go at making some tiny trees to go along with them. So maybe something that can be used to represent the edge of a forest, or just a small cluster of trees. And as always, you can find a link to the PDF file that contains all of these new textures down in the description. However, I do recommend that you get hold of some of those special edge cutting scissors for this one, as it makes everything a lot quicker and easier to do. So, on screen now are the ones that I've just picked up from eBay for less than £2.50, and I think the pattern is called Shark's Tooth, for pretty obvious reasons. And I'll probably be using these in a few of these videos, so they are going to be a handy addition to the toolbox. But enough of all that, let's get started. Okay, to start things off, we'll glue several strips of the tree trunk texture to some single corrugated cardboard. And when that's dry, we'll cut them to size. Next, we'll kind of scrunch and fold this little strip back and forth, so that when we join the two ends together, we end up with a random shape that looks something like this. Then, all we'll need to do is glue those two ends together, using the hot glue gun. And when we're done, we should be left with this kind of thing. Okay, next we'll need to print out the leaf texture onto some card. And then we can place our little cardboard shape onto the back of this and mark out an area that's a little bit bigger than the shape itself. Once that's done, we can take those scissors that I mentioned earlier, we can take those and cut this shape to size, and as you can see, this gives us a really nice edge in no time at all. Then, all that's left to do for this first part is to glue these two pieces together. So, I like to apply some hot glue to the top piece first, and then glue the sides into place. And with any luck, that should result in something that looks like this. However, at this stage, I also like to bend the edges of the leaf pattern over the edge of the tree trunks, just a tiny bit, basically the kind of thing that you can see here. Right then, next we're going to take a strip of the tree trunk texture, and we're going to wrap that around several different size drinking straws, and cut those to size. However, for this next part, we're not going to need the whole length of this texture, just the top half. So, here I am cutting away the excess. There you go. And here's a few more that I've cut to size beforehand. Okay, as well as those, we'll also need to cut out a few random shapes from the leaf pattern, using those fancy scissors again. And the aim then is to select a few of these that mostly fill the top of the piece that we just made. It's a bit hard to see as I'm placing a green pattern on top of another green pattern, but something like this. Then we're going to glue 1 or 2 straws to the bottom of each of these smaller pieces, like you can see here, so that when we glue this new piece into place, any second now, when we glue this new piece into place, it starts to add a bit more height and randomness to the whole thing, essentially making it look a little less flat. So, here I am gluing on the other 2 pieces, and there you go. So, this is the kind of thing that we're aiming for. Though, I am going to bend the edges of these over as well. So yeah, something like that. Okay, now we're just going to repeat the process, making each new level a little bit smaller than the last one, so that we get a kind of tiered look, a little bit like a wedding cake. So, if you look down towards the bottom corner, you should be able to see what I mean a little bit better, as once again, I'm placing little bits of green card on top of other little bits of green card, so it's not all that clear from this angle. But yeah, I'll leave this part running at like 10 times speed or something like that, so you can at least get an idea of the process. Anyway, I'll do the usual thing of bending the edges over ever so slightly on each level, and when we're done, this is how it should look. And while you could leave it like that, I like to fill it out a little bit more, so I'll take some of the tiny straws again, but this time I'll cut them a bit longer, maybe keeping 2/3 this time around. And I'll also do a similar thing with some of the regular size straws as well. So, there we go. Then it's just a matter of filling out some of the areas that are still looking a little bit flat, and for the most part, these extra pieces, they don't really need to be more than 1 or 2 tiers high, if that makes sense. So yeah, it can be a bit of a laborious process for a large piece like this one, so to save time, I'll just cut to the part where I'm gluing on the last few pieces. And here's the last one going on now. So, there you go. There's our finished group of trees. Or a copse, if you prefer. Actually, that's probably a better word for it. But yeah, as individual pieces, they might not look all that great. But if you place a few of them together, and maybe add in a little cottage and a barn, then I think they'll work well enough, and can maybe represent a small farm on the edge of town, or something like that. Anyway, here's a fancy rotating view of some of these, and as I say, I think it's pretty obvious what they're supposed to be, so they should do the job nicely. Or at least, that's my hope. But yeah, that's it for this one, so thanks again for watching. A huge thanks goes out to everyone supporting me over on Patreon, and yeah, see you next time.